Silver and gold stackers, we must unite. I'm going to explain what I mean by that. I'm going to explain, trust me. So please, like the video, share the video. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because you never know when we're going to do the next giveaway. That should be a little bit of a hint right there. Make sure you subscribe now. Let's get into the video. I want to start off with what's going on at the coin shop. Then I'll get into why we should unite as a team. We may not know each other personally, right? But we can all relate to this, maybe. I'm going to explain. Let's get into it. What's going on at the coin shop? Look, we had a person walk in today. 110-ounce silver bars. They didn't bring them all in. They showed us some samples of what they had. One sample was not just any Royal Canadian Mint 10-ounce bar. These had the eBay logo right on top. So this was, their logo was a little small for Canadian Royal Mint. The eBay logo, their rare 10-ounce silver bars. They go for a lot more than your traditional 10-ounce Royal Canadian Mint silver bars. There is some people like to collect this type of stuff. I just happen to know a person, a customer, that collects these. This woman had about 10 of these. And I told her, I said, I'm willing to pay. I said, this is what I told her. So let me call the customer first. I said, I don't think he's going to be able to get all 10 of these all at the same time. I says, I can work with you though. I says, let's play the game with the market. I says, so she brought in 3 of these bars and a few other generics. She says she's got about 100 total 10-ounce silver bars she wants to dump. She's planning to move out of state. And I said, how far out of state? She says, well, I'm going to the middle of the country. I said, is something we can ship this, to your new place? She says, well, I really want the money for the new place, and I really need to make a down payment. I said, how soon is this going to happen? She says, well, within 4 or 5 months. I said, so we got some time. She says, oh, yeah, we got some time, before she makes the move. Okay. So, call the guy up that one of these eBay bars. Says, how much are you willing to pay? I said, I don't need to make a ton off you. You're a good customer. I said, how much are you willing to pay? But you're going to be fair with me as well. I would like to make at least $2 an ounce for the shop. Not my shop, but I'm trying to make the shop some money as well. I said, I got to have a little bit of meat on the bone here. I said, how much are you willing to pay for these? He says, I'm willing to pay $65 an ounce. So that's $650 per silver bar. I said, you're willing to pay that much? He says, yeah, I'm willing to pay that much. Says, okay. I says, so if I can get her to buy these for, let's say, $625, $630, you're gonna guarantee me you're gonna pay me $650. He says, I would like to get them for less, but he says, I'm like, well, I said, I got to be fair with her, too. I said, I got to play both ways here. I says, I want to be fair with her, too. I says, because these are rare collectible. And he says, yeah, I'll just do the $650. If you can get them for $630, fine. $625, fine. I'll pay you the $650, but I can't do all 10 at one time. I says, how much can you do, let's say, today? He says, I can get 2 today. All right, I said, how soon are you going to be able to get the other ones? I said, you got about 3 or 4 months here, 5 months here of getting these. And he says, I'll have the money by then. He says, I'll have all the money next week. So I says, if silver goes up, are you willing to pay more next week? Because I says, I'm not going to go ahead and buy them all today. I said, I want that money back right in the shop. I said, I don't want to stretch this out where you don't have the money. He says, I'll have some more money next week. He says, get me 2 more next week. He says, how about we just do 2 for until it's the next 5 weeks? Fine. No problem. So I says, we're going to do 2 at a time. So as price of silver goes up, you're going to pay me more. He says, oh, absolutely. All right, fine. I went back to her. I told her about what we can do for the eBay buzz, the Canadian Royal Mint buzz. She was so happy. I said, I have a contact. I said, I'm going to give you $630 for 2 of them today, each one. So she's for each one. I said, yes. I said, I'm going to sell them. I said, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I said, I'm going to make $20 off of each bar. I said, I can flip them that quick. I said, if we can flip this stuff for quick, we're going to pay up. I said, he will be in this afternoon if you're willing to sell them. I said, I will be able to buy. I says, depending on the silver price. Silver goes up, I can pay you a little bit more. We would have to work this deal out every single time. So I said, if you want to bring them in like middle of next week, 2 more, or call me up. I says, we can make that deal work. She says, how about the other 10-ounce bars? I said, generics, I says, we're paying $1.50 behind spot right now. I said, that is what we're paying. I says, so she says, you can't do any better. I said, no, not right. I said, I need the 10-ounce silver buzz, but where the market is right now, I told her, I says, that's what we're paying. I mean, it was hard for us to even pay a little bit more than that. Because, yeah, we do need a 10-ounce silver bars in the shop. But with the market right now, not knowing if we're going to go up or down here, we got to be cautious still. I says, if you want to play the game, I told her, of the silver price, I says, sell us a little bit at a time. You got 5 months, you told me. I says, you want to play the game? I says, see where we're at next week. Sell these eBay bars, the Canadian Royal Mint bars, sell 2 today. Get rid of those first. Get the cash for those. Then we can talk about the other stuff later in 5 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it may take. She said, yeah, let's just do it that way. I said, because silver price could go up. I said, but silver price could go back down too. So we got to keep this all in mind. She says, no, I think you're being honest with me. I says, right now, this is where the times are right now. She's fine with it. That's how you make connections, my friends. That's how you do business. Not trying to say, I'll buy it for this, get the shop locked into a mess, and have to try to melt this stuff down. We tried very hard not to send anything off to the smelters at all. Unless it's toned up, banged up, really bad condition, really nobody wants it. That type of material does get sent off to the smelters. And it's not a lot of material we send off. This is why I'm so against of any silver or gold going to the smelters. Especially 90%, 40%, 35% war nickels. Especially that. They're not making it no more. I'll get that more in a little bit. I want to cover another story. So this is how you do business. You communicate with your customers. You make them the best deal. You have a customer base that wants something else. If something like that comes in, you got contacts. You can make quick deals. Guy always came in, got his 2 bars. We made $40 real quick. Boom. Paid us cash. Boom. Thank you. See you next week. That's how we do business if we have a buyer of something like that. What do I mean by unite silver stackers and gold stackers? Look, we know this is dying. We know that. The ones who are stacking silver and gold, the old saying is normally saying the ones who own the gold that makes the rules, you can add silver to that right now. Silver is outperforming gold in percentages. We're the ones, stackers, silver, gold, platinum, copper, whatever you want to throw in there. Not Bitcoin, not meme coin crap, nothing like that. Because that's all backed by, it's really backed by the dollar. That's what it's based on. If the dollar goes kapoof, what's your Bitcoin worth? Your dollar goes kapoof, what are these meme coins worth? A big, fat zero. That's what it's worth. A big, fat zero. Nothing burger. Prove me wrong on that one. How are you going to use it when the power goes out? How are you going to use it if the system gets corrupted? How are you going to use it if you get hacked? How are you going to use it if you lose your password? Or put in your password wrong so many times and you get locked out? What happens if you drop your phone somewhere? You get a new phone. You need to get that password back. What happens if it takes 3 or 4 days to get a new cell phone? You can't get logged on. You need some cash quick. How are you going to transact? How's this digital currency going to transact when your cell phone has no battery power? We may got power, but your cell phone has no battery power. It's gone dead temporarily. This is not being worked out in the right way. Physical silver and gold are the only real money. Prove me wrong on that. 5,000 year plus history, my friends. When this dollar falls apart, the people who have silver and gold, we're going to have to rebuild this country. We're going to have to be the ones that open mom and pop stores, mom and pop businesses, and rebuild this country. We're going to be the ones that have to do this. Think about it that way. You know, yes, I understand people in some kind of fear right now where silver is almost $40 an ounce. And maybe backing off a little bit. Yeah, I can say I'm backing off a little bit myself. But at the end of the day, if we sit too far back on the sidelines or too far up in the bleachers, and we're not seeing the whole picture here, the whole game here, silver could run away like crazy, going to 50, going to 60, going to 70. And we're going to be saying, oh crap, I should have bought more at 39 and change. Not saying that's going to happen. We're not buying nothing. We're converting bad money into real money. That is what we're doing. Keep cautious out there. I'm not telling you to go buy silver or gold. And that's not what this channel is about. This channel is about to educate you. Don't sit on the sidelines and waiting, because those same people who did that at 22, waiting for that pull back to 17, those people got caught with the pants down, and guess what? It never went back to 17. I mentioned that before. We saw it at 25. People were waiting to go back to 22. I said it's not going back there. We dabbled around 25, 26 for a while. We got it up 28. We dabbled back down to 26 and change. We went up back to 28. We went back down to 26 and change again. We got up to 30. It got down to 28. We went up to 30. It went down to 28. Went up to 32. Went back down to 30. You get the picture. It's progressing. Silver's up almost 33% year to date. Gold's up 27%. Platinum's up 64%. Copper's somewhere around 30-something% as well. Are we awake yet? Are we awake? Are we seeing this dollar decline? Is your goods and service costing you more and more and more? We're going to have to be the ones who rebuild this country. I'm telling you. Right now, that's my prediction. The ones who have precious metals, we're going to be the ones have to come and save this country and rebuild our shops, because business will be closing. They're not going to be able to survive this. And we're going to have to come in and rebuild. It's going to be more job loss. We're going in another Great Depression. I hate to say that, but that's what it looks like it's going to. To avoid all that, check out channel sponsor Pinbex. I know this is late in the game for me telling you about Pinbex. Late in the video. They still have their silver quarter deal roll until tomorrow, Sunday, the 13th. July 13th is the last day, 2025, to get your silver quarters, 3 rolls or more. Check them out. Order them now if you're able to, if you need them. If you want more 90% silver now. We got to stop the melt with our 90% silver. Also an add-on. People come in on this channel. I understand. I work for a coin shop. Some people seem to forget that. I understand how low the margins are in the coin shop business, online business, like channel sponsor pinbacks. There's not a lot of profit margin. Once they ship something out, they pay for insurance. There's not a lot of meat left on the bone. Think about that. Think how much shipping is. A flat rate box is nearly $10. You start adding insurance on it. These insurance boxes only insure it up to $100. So of course they're going to have to add more insurance. That's not cheap as well. So there's not much. I understand there's not a lot of meat on the bone for bullion dealers, coin shops alike. But these coin shops, all they care about, some of them, the fast buck. Smelt it down, smelt it down, smelt it down. I blame the coin shops, and I'll say this again. If a coin shop cannot afford to buy something, to purchase it back from the public, then maybe that coin shop should not buy it then. Stop melting down our history. You know, I don't blame the smelters at all. All right, maybe some smelters have a better head on their shoulders and realize this is real money. And I think some smelters are doing the right thing by calling around, trying to sell it to a coin shop, an online dealer, whatever the case may be. I don't blame the smelters at all, because I really do believe some of these smelters maybe not we got to give them the benefit of the doubt. We can't blame the smelters here, because the average population has no clue that a $0.50 right now almost melts silver value $14 per coin. The silver value content alone, $13.98, as reported in this morning's 90% Silver Market Watch. $13.98. You know, these coin shops know what the silver value is. They're educated. Okay, they're educated. They're the ones that should get the grief for smelting it down, sending it off. Let's not protect these coin shops or pawn shops that are smelting it down. There's no reason to defend them whatsoever. Not in my book. Not in my book. This is gonna help us live through the worst times that are coming. All right, I said it. People can think I'm doom and gloom. Okay, fine. When there's no jobs and no food in the stores, it's going to come to bottom material. We're going to have to rely on the people who stockpile food, stockpiled water, stockpile supplies, and then the people who have a whole bunch of silver and gold. I'm not one of them. We're going to have to rely on those people. Maybe those people say, okay, I'm going to start a small business in my local town, and I'm going to get my town back up and running. That's what's going to take place, I do believe, eventually. And maybe we're 4 or 5 years out from that. Maybe we're less than out like that. But who really knows? We got to prepare for everything. Or at least try to. We're not buying nothing. When we're getting silver and gold, yes, it looks like we're using dollars. We're buying something. We're not buying nothing. We're just converting, my friends. You know that. Show your friends, your family, this video. You can walk into any coin shop, any pawn shop. You can call up channel sponsor pinbacks. If you need this back, if this is still around, then you can convert it back. And maybe you can convert it back for a lot more than you got it for, but you got to keep in mind, inflation takes hold. When we go in hyperinflation, not going to be a pretty sight. I've shown on this channel when I bought stuff. Look at the prices today. I've proven that point. Look at silver. Look at gold year to date. Let's go back to this January. How much we're up. What bank is going to give you that much of an interest rate in 1 year? Less than a year. Silver and gold has proven itself this year. 2025 may be a heck of a year. Where are we going to be later this year? Where are we going to be at Christmas time of this year? Could we possibly see $60, $70, $75 silver by the end of the year? That's not out of the question. Okay, it's not that far out of the question. We're going to see silver by the end of the month. Can we see 42, 43 by the end of the month? That's not out of the question either, is it? We were just up, what, almost $2 an ounce in silver yet Friday alone. Anything's possible. Alright, let's keep stacking as we can. Cost average your stacks. If you have any questions for me about silver, gold, or platinum, reach out to me. Save our 90% history before they go to the roof. Silver prices rising. I understand people are panicking to sell, and we're worried about government confiscation. No. Government's not coming to your home to take your silver and gold away. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen is some people are going to get so scared out at 45, 50, 65. And guess what? At some point, when they think they got enough silver and gold back, when they think they got enough of this in their little possessions, they're going to drop the ball and say, you got 2 years to cash this in. Because we're going to digital bank, digital currency, whatever the heck it's called. And you're going to be locked right into that. That is what's going to happen, my friends. That's how the government will take your silver and gold away from you. Is by scaring the heck out of you when the price goes up. That is what's going to happen. I do believe that. That's the most realistic way it's going to happen. Okay? That's the most realistic way. Probably the, I'm not going to say the best way it's going to happen, but that is what's probably going to happen. People are going to get scared. At 50, people will sell, because I remember what happened back in 1980 and 2011. Oh, this is it. It's going to fall. It's going to fall. And it might fall a little bit at first to scare some more people. It might push down to about $45, $42 an ounce. Then it's going to shoot right back up, and it's not coming back. It's not going to come back down this time. This time's different. This time we're $37 trillion in debt. It's not like 1980. It's not like 2011. This time is different. Reach out to me by email. It's always in every single description of every single video if you got questions on silver, gold, or platinum. I will catch you tomorrow, my friends. Hope you have a good day. Don't forget to like the video, share the video, make sure you're subscribed. I'm warning you. You never know when we're going to do a giveaway. Coin Shop Chris is out.